Do you ever wonder why, after taking the time to neaten up your house, tidy up your space, and set up organizing systems for yourself, that you have your space fall apart again 2 weeks later and end up doing the same thing over and over and over again? You may not be addressing the fundamental issues that make you disorganized. And today we're going to discuss the 4 types of organizing clients I usually see in my organizing business. All right, let's go. In my many years of helping people organize their homes and love their homes and set up organizing systems that work for them, I typically see a lot of the same patterns over and over and over again when I work with people. Now, there are many, many different reasons why people need to call me and need to have me in their home, but I find that there are 4 fundamental behaviors or ways that people are that usually lead to them calling me, and I sort of see disorganization and dealing with disorganization the same way you deal with a medical condition. So let's say you're feeling kind of sick or something hurts, you go to the doctor and they prescribe to you a treatment that's appropriate for the condition that you may have. I find that solving the problem of disorganization is kind of the same thing. Not everyone is going to present with the same kinds of problems, and if you see yourself in any of these examples, let me know down in a comment below. And we're going to prescribe the medicine that is right for you in your home. I've said this a few times in the past, but your home is a very important character in your story. I am an opera singer in my other life, and I like to think of myself, my life, as a sort of story. It's a big giant opera. And one of the many important characters in your story is the places you live. You don't really talk to the place you live. Maybe you do, maybe you do, but I usually don't. But you do interact with your home many times a day. And for a lot of us who work from home, we interact with our home a lot of the day. Like, we're here from morning all the way until night. And our relationship with our home can be functional or dysfunctional. Now, this is very broad, but I find that there are 4 different kinds of people that usually call me to visit their homes. And you can actually be 2 types or even 3 types or even all 4 types all at once. The first kind of person that I visit and that I help is what I call the nomad. Now, there are like 2 types of nomads. So nomads are people that have clutter and things lying strewn about their homes, and they're either not in their designated homes, that let's say like things that are out have designated homes and they're just not there. Or the second kind of nomad has things strewn about the home, but they actually don't have homes. They just are kind of free roaming, kind of like nomads. Let's start with the first kind of nomad, where everything really has a home and you actually can put things away. This is a little bit easier to deal with, but it can sort of be overwhelming, which we'll talk about later. But my first strategy that I usually recommend to people is that it is really a problem of a very bad habit that's gotten out of control, such as taking things out of their home and not putting them back when you're done with them. It sounds really simple. It is, but it's not easy. And I think that that's the core of organization, is that it is simple, but not easy. So what I usually recommend to people is that they correct the habit, but only 1 step at a time. Because if you try to do too much all at once, it's going to be really overwhelming and you're not going to be able to realistically maintain it. The other thing that happens by trying to do 1 thing at a time is that you get a very small win. If you set up a really small attainable goal, let's say you, instead of putting your coat on the hook when you come into the door, you take your coat and you throw it on the floor. So the first goal I recommend, if you're this kind of person, and if you maybe have other things strewn about, don't worry about those things for now, is that you establish for like a week that when you come home, you take your coat and you hang it on the hook, and you commit yourself to that 1 act for like an entire week. And once you get used to that, you move on to the next good habit. Like, you open your mail when it comes into the house. That's a really hard one to break. I've been there with having that one as a huge issue. And it's okay if you want to take a big step and like take a weekend and put everything back into its proper place. If you have the mental bandwidth and physical bandwidth for that, that's totally fine. But keep in mind that it would be much better and much more successful to try and tackle your bad habits in small steps rather than 1 big fell swoop. Do 1 thing at a time, or 2 things at a time. You can do 2. It's fine. The type 2 nomad, where things don't actually have homes, is a little bit more challenging to deal with because that requires making a bunch of decisions, and that in the end is what clutter is. Clutter is strewn around your home is just a bunch of unmade decisions. Where do I put these scissors? What do I do with this mail that I'm done reading? What do I do with this shirt that I don't like anymore? It's a bunch of unmade decisions, and some of us don't have the bandwidth to make all of those decisions all in one day. So again, I always advise to make as few decisions as possible and to take care of one thing that you have the bandwidth. Or if you have the bandwidth for 2 or 3 or 4 decisions, go ahead and give yourself the grace to do that one thing at a time and get into the habit of making those decisions, or make the decision once and then just be done with it. Like, establish a home for the scissors. If the scissors don't have a home, you're like, don't know where to put them, just take 5 minutes and find a drawer, a closet, a place on the table where the scissors can live, even if temporarily, and remember to put them there when you're done with them. Then take that small victory and celebrate. The thing about small victories is that if you get a lot of them, you can have a lot of those little dopamine hits, and it will encourage you to do the next challenge. It's very beneficial for your brain to have those little dopamine hits, and so you can establish new neural pathways and break the bad habits and establish new, better ones that will better serve you in your home. And remember to choose an attainable task that works for you. I know it's really tempting to do everything all at once, so have a little heart-to-heart moment with yourself and really ask yourself, what goal is easily attainable for me? Like, can I put my shoes in the closet today? I can? Yes, let's do that. And after that, I'm gonna like sit on the couch and watch Netflix or something. Okay, the next kind of person I see is what I call the Bloomwood. If you've ever read the series of books that was popular in the early 2000s, Confessions of a Shopaholic, you will know who I'm talking about. The main character in the series was Becky Bloomwood, but who, despite being a financial journalist, had a crippling shopping addiction and had accrued thousands of dollars in debt. Now, literally, my clients aren't usually accruing debt like this, but they are accruing items. And usually when I walk in the door, I find boxes, unopened boxes. I find bags from stores. And the thing I find the most of is tags. I find so many new tags, and there are things that people bought. They were so excited about buying them, but they didn't really wear them, or they didn't know what to do with them. Now, retail therapy is an actual thing, an actual real thing. It has been scientifically proven. If you're feeling good, you go out, you go shopping, you celebrate, it makes you feel really good. If you're feeling really bad, you want to make yourself feel better, you want to give yourself a little treat, you go out, you buy yourself a little something, you feel better temporarily. It can be really easy to fall into these patterns the same way that it's easy to fall into the pattern of giving yourself a little sweet treat if you are celebrating or are feeling bad. It's kind of too much of a good thing. Retail therapy in small doses is actually totally fine, but it has the same consequences almost as like eating too many sweets. If you eat too many sweets, if like every day is a birthday party and you're eating cake and candy every day, you might get some cavities. If you shop every time you feel bad or feel good, you will have excess clutter. The first step in helping yourself if you are a Bloomwood is to be kind to yourself about it. The same goes for every kind of disorganization pattern that I'm going to be talking about in this video. You are just humaning, and all of these things are essentially just people humaning. So don't be mad at yourself for humaning, because first of all, it does nothing to solve your problem, and secondly, it just makes you feel bad. So like, what's the good in that? So just be kind to yourself and acknowledge that you are on your way to making better habits so that you can make your life better. And secondly, when you get to the declutter process, remember that the money has already been spent. You should be emotionally prepared to either give items away or not recoup the total cost of your purchase price of the item if it doesn't really hold its value, like jewelry, valuable jewelry, or new electronics pretty much hold a lot of their value. A lot of things that you may have had are probably not worth selling because they might not be worth your time. Selling items involves a lot of time and effort. There's time taking pictures of the items, listing it, deciding on a price, negotiating with people, either putting it in the mail, dropping it off, trying to decide how they're going to pay you. It's just a lot of work and time is one of your most valuable non-renewable resources. So decide whether or not it's worth your time. So just be prepared that you may not recoup the money you spent on items decluttering. You may may also be the type of Bloomwood that is the deal hunter, the type of person that has so many of those tags with the red writing on them, you know, $100, $90, $70, $25, and then when it says $5, they're gonna be like, I got this pair of pants, this $100 pair of pants for $5, and they don't even like those pants. Is that you? I know it can be really tempting to keep those things. They feel like trophies to you, but if they are not adding to your life and they're actually adding to your distress by being cluttered, it is better to let them go. With Bloomwood clients, I always find that it's best to have help when it comes to decluttering. Somebody impartial who's not gonna care how much you paid for a shirt, you know, in 2005 or whatever. And it also is a good idea to help redirect some of those habits to things that aren't shopping. One of the best things you can do instead of actually shopping is window shopping. It's really fun. You can decide on a goal. You're like, I'm looking for a really cute, I'm gonna find a really cute candle today, but I'm not gonna buy it. So you go and you look for the candle, you go to different stores and you're like, oh my gosh, I found the candle, take a picture and you know, be done with that. If you feel like you really need to buy something and you're not sure whether or not you need it, I have a mindful shopping cheat sheet that is a flow chart to determine whether or not you need an item. So you can download it onto your phone, and then if you're in your store, you're struggling, you're like, oh my gosh, do I really need that item? You can take it out and you can go through the flow chart and see whether or not you should go to the cash wrap or go to the door. If you need help to temporarily improve your mood or celebrate, you can celebrate either by reaching out to a friend or relative. Just by talking with someone can take some of that urge to shop away, or you can do something like exercising, playing with your pets, playing a game, doing a new hobby, just something to take your mind off of the dopamine hit that you do get from shopping. You do get a dopamine hit from shopping, and my main goal is to help you redirect some of that so you can get a dopamine hit from somewhere else, like either like winning at Mario or like the runner's high that they supposedly say exists. I've never had that. So I mean, good kudos to you if you do. Okay, the next kind of client I usually see is the storyteller, and this is a really beautiful kind of problem to have. If you are a storyteller, you are emotionally attached to a lot of the items in your home, and you just tell stories about them. You know where you've gotten this particular vase, you knew what you were wearing when you got this makeup, you knew where you got this fork from your grandmother who gave it to your cousin who gave it to you, and now it's in your home and you either love it or it's taking up extra space. You remember what you smelled when you were in the Bath and Body Works and you got this candle, but you don't really like the candle, you know, but you got a candle anyway. So you're emotionally attached to all these items, and they have these stories and beautiful narratives to them, and I think it's a really beautiful kind of issue, but it does create an issue to where it's really hard for you to get rid of items because they have so many memories attached to them. Being emotionally attached to items is completely natural. A lot of us, when we were babies and co-sleeping wasn't as popular as it is now, our parents put us in a crib with a teddy bear, and instead of reaching for our parent to hug, we reached the teddy bear, and we sort of transferred our attachment from being able to touch our parents like that to being able to hug the teddy bear. And it's not necessarily something that a lot of people have all their lives. They may not be emotionally attached to items, and then all of a sudden, as they get older, they become attached to items. Sometimes when we have traumatic experiences, or when we get older and we find that items remind us of our past, we can become really emotionally attached to them. It's perfectly human. Again, we're all humaning, so we have to forgive ourselves for the behaviors that we are naturally have a tendency to do. So if the items that you're attached to are negatively affecting your life, the prescription I always have for the storyteller is to get a second pair or even a third pair of eyes in with you to help you declutter the items, because a third pair of eyes, maybe that doesn't have an emotional attachment to the same things that you do, either a professional organizer or an impartial friend who doesn't have the same memories with the items that you do, can help you make practical and pragmatic decisions about whether or not to keep that pillow that is really taking up space that your great aunt Edna gave you 10 years ago. Even though it is perfectly human to get emotionally attached to items because they remind us of people or events or experiences, the items are not people or experiences, and it's really hard to sever that connection. And it's okay to hold on to a few sentimental things. I have a thing where I recommend that you buy a really beautiful box, preferably a box that you spend a little money on, so that you don't attach sentimental value to everything around you, that you have this very special box where you keep all of your memories and things that are very special to you, and you keep them limited to an amount that you can manage. Okay, and the last type of person I see often is, and this person is probably a little bit of everybody else, it is called the overwhelmed. Now, the overwhelmed can be anybody who cannot make decisions about anything because they're tired, they have challenges, people are depressed and cannot find the bandwidth to get anything done in terms of cleaning, picking up, anything like that, or you can't concentrate long enough to do it. There are challenges with others living in your home. Let's say you have a lot of busy little children and they're running around, or you just don't have the time or mental capacity to make decisions about the clutter. And again, clutter just basically is unmade decisions. Let's say you have a really demanding job, or you're taking care of, you're a stay-at-home parent, and you're taking care of a lot of really busy, really active children. And the last thing you want to do after you have a little downtime is make more decisions. You may be making dozens or even hundreds of challenging decisions every day. How to reply to that email, what paint to use to do that project, what to make my kid for lunch, how am I going to walk the dog between all of my meetings, what am I going to sing at this audition tomorrow, all kinds of these decisions. And sometimes at the end of our busy workday, the last thing you want to do is deal with the clutter and make more decisions, and you just don't have the bandwidth for it. So I always recommend the same remedy I recommend to the Storyteller, is to get another set of eyes in, get another set of hands in there to help you manage the clutter and to help you make decisions. Sometimes it's easier to make decisions if you have someone there coaching you, or someone there giving you the cons and the pros of keeping or getting rid of an item. It can be a little bit easier. They can be there for support, is really what I mean. If you're a very high functioning, overwhelmed person, and there's few and far between, you can try and tackle the problem by taking very small bites of the pie. Let's say you need to declutter items, but you have like a room full of things. Well, I challenge you to do 1 or 2 of those a day and be happy with that. It may take a longer period of time overall, but you'll be making small progress along the way, and you won't have to make as many decisions all at once. So you'll kind of get it out of the way. And if you do it actually before you start to do anything else, like let's say you wake up and the first thing you do is like, you can have your cup of coffee, you can go to the gym or whatever, but you can come back and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna declutter the junk drawer really quick. And I don't like to say junk drawer, but it's out there. I can declutter the junk drawer really quick. I can take like 5 things out of there that I don't need, and just limit it to that. Limit it to something attainable that you can do, not that you think you can do, but that you can actually do, and get that small victory out of the way. And then you get a win, and then you can go along the rest of your day. I find that when you're feeling fresh after you've had your breakfast, or if you're feeling really good, it's much easier to make those decisions. So you'll be less overwhelmed if you're feeling pretty good. So I would save those times, if you have small bursts of energy, to tackle a little bit then, and then you'll make, again, the small victories. It's a really good win. But at the end of the day, usually the best course of action is to ask for help. It is really hard for me personally to ask for help. I have been the person who has always wanted to do stuff herself my whole entire life, and I've recently started asking for more help. You can't be good at everything, but I do take the time to learn things, and being a lifelong learner is something I have been committed to for the last few years. And I have had a Skillshare membership for a few years now, and I have not regretted a single moment I have spent learning on Skillshare. It is so great, and they are so kindly sponsoring this video. Skillshare is an online learning community where millions of people come together to take the next step in their creative journey, with thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people, including topics on entrepreneurship, cooking, interior design, photography, and plant keeping, and all kinds of stuff, including art. Skillshare offers classes designed for real life, so you don't have to take a 5-hour class. You can take a 7-minute class, you can take a 30-minute class, and you can actually come back and watch classes over and over again if you need to sharpen your skills. Lately, I've noticed that I have been really challenged balancing having 2 YouTube channels, the singing career that's kind of coming back after the last couple of years, and actually having a life and all that stuff. I've been really having trouble balancing that. And I've been trying a bunch of productivity apps. I took a class on Skillshare a few weeks ago on the app Notion, and I downloaded Notion and I've been working with it. But I have been watching a lot of videos lately by YouTuber Ali Abdaal, and he has like 10 classes on Skillshare, and the one that he has on Notion is incredible. His Notion masterclass, Maximize Your Productivity and Organization, was so helpful for me because he is a really good presenter, actually, and when we were going through the class, we designed this thing called Life OS, which I was like, okay, this is really kind of, I don't know how I feel about this. It was a really great sort of landing page in Notion, and when I got into it, I was hooked. I created my Life OS dashboard, and in it I made this amazing template for planning video content on both channels, and I just like spilled out all my ideas onto my Notion, and it was so great just to get those things out of my head and into a space where I could actually work on them. It was life-changing. I didn't even have to watch all of the class. A lot of the stuff in the latter chapters of the class was like really more advanced stuff where you're working with people. He was like, you don't even need to watch like the last 3 chapters. And so if I decide to do more advanced stuff with Notion, it's totally there for me, but like half the class was like really life-changing. Skillshare is also really affordable when compared to in-person classes and workshops. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get a free 1-month trial of Skillshare, so you can start exploring your creativity today. Thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring this video and being a great partner and friend to the channel, and supporting creative entrepreneurs everywhere. So did you see yourself in any of these examples of disorganized people? Let me know which one resonated most with you down in a comment below. And if you are now motivated to get organized and want to start your decluttering journey, but don't know how to do it, I've got a video right here for you so that you know exactly what to do step by step. I will see you over there. Bye.